Hi there. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt like trapped by your own anxious thoughts or just thoughts in general? And have you felt your heart racing and maybe even a knot in your stomach? Well, if the answer is yes, I'm going to help you today by talking a little bit more about that and addressing sort of three key and common signs and symptoms of anxiety. So, before we dive right in, let me go ahead and encourage you to don't forget to subscribe to this channel where I post faith filled mental health content. My heart is for serving women, especially moms, but I do know and believe that this content can help many people in general. So don't forget to click subscribe. And if you want to, also turn on notifications. Let's jump right in and not waste any time. So, the number one anxiety symptom, as I mentioned a minute ago, is or are racing thoughts, just kind of being stuck in this anxious loop of worry, fear, and sometimes even being sort of trapped either in the past or really fearful about the future. And so much so that it really has an impact on your day to day life and ultimately kind of holds you back from walking in your God given purpose. So, that is a very typical sign of anxiety and anxiety like symptoms. The second one you may not hear about too much are all the physical symptoms that come with anxiety too. Oftentimes people report having a lot of headaches or may have muscle tension, in the neck, in the upper back, sometimes in the lower back, and just different parts of the body where we store stress, because anxiety is a stress response. So you'll notice that muscle tension can be a key factor or a key physical symptom of anxiety. There's also things like digestive issues. A lot of people with very high anxiety can have stomach aches and different things like that. I'll share a quick story because I thought of this earlier as I was writing down my notes for today's video. I had like this flashback of when I was in high school, and I remember I had a lot of anxiety when I was younger. Praise God, I have learned to manage my thought life and really take control of that. But anyway, when I was in high school, the one that I thought of, I can give you so many stories, but we'll just do one for today, is I remember in ninth grade having a stomach ache pretty much every single day. I distinctly remember being in my first period class, which was language arts, and it was out in the portables, and just always kind of having a stomach ache and needing to go to the bathroom. And it might have been, with the cycle of my circadian rhythm, right? Needing to go poop early in the morning. But also in conjunction with that, it was just really painful. And I know now, looking back and reflecting on that, that it was very much linked to just being anxious, whether or not I realized it at the time. So anyway, having stomach aches every single day sometimes can be a sign of some kind of physical ailment related to gut health. But for me, that actually was not the case. I know that it was more so due to anxiety and just like the worry and the stress that I was feeling transitioning into high school, because it stopped maybe towards the end of the year. I didn't have, even though I still had to go to the bathroom, it wasn't those as painful, and I wasn't having, those GI tummy ache situations anymore. So anyway, quick story time for that. But anyway, the third one, moving on, the third symptom would be avoidance. So people with anxiety issues tend to avoid those things where they make themselves anxious. For example, if you have a phobia of some kind, that's the easiest one to kind of pinpoint that I think a lot of us can understand. People with phobias tend to avoid the thing that they are afraid of instead of learning to face that fear and sort of ride the wave. Kind of ironically, my name, Melissa, is Greek for honeybee. They pronounce it, or it's pronounced Melissa in Greek. I actually had a classmate who was from Greece in college, and she told me, she's like, hey, did you know your name literally means honeybee? But anyway, I share that with you because for a long time, I would freak out every time I would see a bee. And it's funny, it's not because I had ever been stung. Actually didn't get stung until like a couple of years ago for the first time in my life. But I remember being in high school and college and up until not too long ago, really freaking out freaking myself out whenever there was a bee because I just didn't want to get stung. I have a very low tolerance for pain. I don't like shots, needles. So anything that stings, bees, wasps, etc., just would always avoid them until I kind of had that moment of self-reflection that I thought, well, I don't want to be afraid of bees. You know what I mean? Bees are a blessing. They help with our food and they, pollinate flowers and plants and all the things. So I don't really want to be afraid of bees anymore. That paired with the fact that before we moved to this house, we had an avocado tree in the backyard, massive one. And so we had a lot of bees because the bees would pollinate. And then in August or so, we would have a bunch of yummy avocados. So I learned through the exposure of sitting, I couldn't sit in my backyard without having lots of bees around me. I'm the kind of person that I love being outside. It does help elevate my mood a lot to get the fresh air and the sunshine and all that good stuff. So I thought, well, I still want to be able to enjoy my backyard. I know it's not necessarily rational for me to, number one, be afraid of bees because they're not really aggressive, at least where I was. They were not aggressive. There can be feral bees, but that was not the situation in my backyard. So I thought this is a good opportunity for me to learn, to take my thoughts captive and to, just sit outside and enjoy the backyard and the fresh air and the sunshine and not work myself up just because there's, a few bees flying around. You know what I mean? So anyway, I hope that's encouraging to you. I know for some people it can be a little bit more difficult, or you might perceive or think or believe that it's more difficult. But the truth is, really learning to find those opportunities to face your fear and looking at the evidence, right, in the moment where you were okay and everything was fine and you were able to manage your thoughts and your physical symptoms well, will just give you that little vote of confidence that you need day to day to help you start to overcome that fear and overcome your anxiety and get unstuck, because that's the hardest part of anxiety. It's just feeling like you're held back from living a normal life. And when people come to me for therapy to work through that, that's, what we work through and what we talk about. So I'm going to give you a fourth and final sort of a bonus symptom for anxiety. And that is just being irritable, having mood swings. You might notice that you are a moody person and you can just kind of get annoyed with people a little bit easier than maybe others. And so that's a fourth and final symptom of anxiety. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody who has anxiety is irritable. I would say that for me personally, I'm not a very mood swingy kind of person, even maybe when I was a teenager and I was hormonal, but still compared to, others, right? I wouldn't characterize myself as being moody and getting angry, specifically angry with people easily, or even annoyed with people easily. But that didn't mean that I didn't have anxiety before. So just wanted to give you that sort of example and clarification for that. So anyway, final thing I want to share with you before I let you go from this video, because I have you captive, right? Just kidding. Is there's a link in the description box. There's two links. There's one to my website, but there's another one. I have a free 7-day devotional on stress, and it's an action plan. So it's just 7 days, short and easy read, but it also offers you an actual practical worksheet on how to sort of manage the stress in that area. So whether it's your finances, whether marriage, parenting, work, whatever the case may be, you can identify which one you're struggling with most in this season of life, with whether it's stress, anxiety, or both, and come up with a plan on how to overcome. So you'll see that in the description box. It's freedom, so you don't have to put the W's. It's freedom, FREEDOM.melirentas, my name, MELIRENTAS.com. So if you don't see the link, or if you want to remember that, and again, don't forget to subscribe. I'll be going live hopefully more often. I'm coming up with a plan so I can do that and I can serve this community a little bit more consistently. So anyway, if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Oh wait, I don't know how to close this. How do I turn this off? There it is. Bye.